Hello everyone, how are you? I hope all of you are doing really good. So welcome to another session of strategic management, and let's quickly continue with strategic implementation and evaluation. So in the last lecture we discussed about the strategy formulation, right? Now what is strategy formulation? That's selecting the best strategy and then designing the plan on how that strategy can work for us, right? Now once we have decided everything, once we have planned everything, it's time to bring that decided plan into action, right? That is what is known as strategic implementation. This we have already studied in last lecture, right? So strategy implementation concerns the managerial exercise of putting a freshly chosen strategy into action, right? Strategy into action. This is what is known as strategy implementation. It deals with the managerial exercise of supervising the ongoing pursuit of strategy. So it also includes that whatever the strategies are already going on, you need to look at that also, whether they are being implemented correctly, whether the changes are required, whether a better implementation is required. That is also a part of it, right? Making it work, the existing strategy, improving the competence with which it is being executed, right? Competence is what? The strength. So you need to work on the strength that it should be executed in a better way, right? And showing the measurable progress in achieving the targeted results, that whether we are in the right direction. You need to focus on the measurable progress. Measurable progress means that if you have prepared a strategy, implemented a strategy regarding selling 10,000 units, then you should be able to measure it, that whether you are on the right path of selling the 10,000 units or not. Strategic implementation is concerned with translating a strategic decision into action. Strategic decision is related to what? This is selecting the strategy, selected strategy, right? The decision regarding what strategy is to be implemented or what is to be done. Now it's time to put that into action, which presupposes that the decision itself, that is the strategic choice, was made with some thought being given to the feasibility and acceptability. What does it mean? He says, why will you select a particular strategy? Why will you select a particular strategy? That's fine that whatever you have selected, you want to now implement it. But on the first hand, why have you selected that strategy? On this pre-assumption that this is the best strategy, this will definitely work for us, right? That it presupposes, it already presupposes that the decision is feasible, it is acceptable, it will work in the favor of organization, right? The allocation of resources to the new course of action will need to be undertaken, and there may be need for adapting the organization structure to handle the new activities, as well as training the personnel and devising the appropriate system. This is what we have already discussed about the implementation part, right? That when you have to implement the strategy, resources will be required, the changes in the organizational operations will be required, you will need to keep the teams motivated, the work culture will be required. So a lot of things will be required for the implementation purpose, right? Now the next big question is that whether the formulation and implementation, these two have relation or not. Now this is a huge question, sir. Now you people want to go on a trip, right? Let's say you want to go on a Goa trip. What will you do? First you will make plan and then implement it, isn't it? Can you say you are not going to make a plan regarding the trip, that where are we going, how are we going to stay, how are we going to travel? You do not plan anything, you just implement it directly. Let's see, whatever happens, let's leave from the home. Whatever happens, maybe we are going by foot, or maybe by train, by car, by whatever it will happen, we'll see. Is it possible? No. So you will plan the things first. So that is why they are related. First you will plan the things, and if the things are planned, then you will go for the implementation of that part, right? So you have to see that both the things should be working in the right direction. If you have done a very good planning, you have planned everything, but implementation is poor. If you have planned the hotel bookings, everything you have planned, but on the last moment you decline to go. I don't feel like going. That is a poor implementation, right? You planned everything, that okay, we will stay in that particular hotel, but the implementation is very poor. You did not call the hotel, you did not check with the hotel authorities whether the rooms are available or not. right? So this formulation as well as implementation, they go hand in hand. And for a business to grow, for a business to stay ahead in the competition, both formulation and implementation of the strategies need to be done effectively and efficiently. This is very important, right? This is what is the relationship of the strategy formulation. Many managers fail to distinguish between the strategy formulation and implementation, yet it is crucial to realize the difference between the two because they both require the different skills. Yes, there is different. Formulation is selecting the strategy, making the plans, and implementation is bringing those plans into action. Both are absolutely different set of things, right? A company will be successful only when the strategy formulation is sound and implementation is excellent. The company will be successful when the strategy formulation is sound and implementation is even better, right? Organizational success is a function of good strategy and a proper implementation. Having only a good strategy and no proper implementation is not going to give you results. Having a very poor strategy but good implementation, even that is going to not give you that kind of a results. So it has to be a very good, well-planned strategy along with the well-planned implementation. Clear? So this is how the matrix is prepared, right? A, B, C and D. Here it is the strategy formulation, that how the strategy formulation is, and here it is the strategy implementation. On this side, on the horizontal one, it is the strategy implementation, right? This is strategy implementation, right? This is sound and this is flaw. Okay, weak and excellent it is given. Here it is given weak and excellent. Okay, weak and excellent, right? They have already taken it. Strategy implementation. Now, there is a relevance. What does A represent? A represent that your strategy formulation is very sound. It is very sound, but your strategy implementation is quite weak. Will you get success? No, sir. That is what the part A says. Situation where a company apparently has formulated a very competitive strategy. It is a very good strategy, but in the implementation part, they are facing the difficulties, but showing the difficulties in implementing it successfully. This can be due to the various factors such as the lack of experience, the lack of resources, missing leadership, and so on. That why you are not being able to implement such a good strategy that you have prepared. In such a situation, the company will aim at moving from square A to square B, given they realize their implementation is implementation difficulties. That if the company realizes that they are facing the difficulties, they will try to cover up those difficulties. They will try to work on those difficulties and do the better things. Clear? Now, what does part B represents? Part B, it is the best one. B represents for best, right? Strategy formulation is excellent, it's very sound, and strategy implementation is super excellent. Now, this is the part where every organization aspires to be, and this is the point, this is the matrix area where the competitive success is, they are aiming for the competitive success and they are in the right direction, right? Now, coming to part D. The part D is your strategy formulation is not that good, but implementation is brilliant. Implementation is good. Here you will be able to survive, right? It is about survival. But at some point of time, you will have to correct it. Your formulation should also be really good. Now, part C is where you are absolutely failing. Your formulation is poor, your implementation is poor. So you need to work on a lot of things, whether it is the formulation part, whether it is the implementation part, you will have to work on each and everything. Now, this is the tough going, right? This is the tough going part where the formulation and implementation both are weak. So square B is the ideal situation. D is the situation where the strategy, okay, I'll highlight it a bit. Square A, square B, square D and square C, right? Now, square D is the situation where the strategy formulation is flawed, but the company is showing the excellent implementation skills. When a company finds itself in the D, the first thing they have to do is redesign their strategy before readjusting their implementation or execution skills. Only implementation will take you to some distance, but not a very long distance, right? So at some point of time, you will have to work on formulation, you will have to formulate a sound strategy, you will have to redesign your strategy in this case. Square C denotes the companies that haven't succeeded in coming up with a sound strategy formulation and in addition are bad at implementing their flawed strategic model. Their path to success also goes through business model redesign and implementation or execution readjustment. So they need each and everything to be redesigned, right? Complete business to be redesigned, because they have not been able to prepare a very sound strategy for the current business, and at the same time their implementation is also very poor. So they need to change a lot of things, right? So this is what is there, the implementation. The relationship of the implementation with the formulation. Taken together, all the elements of the business strategy, it is to be seen as a chosen set of actions by the means of which a market position relative to the competing enterprises is sought and maintained. Basically, what is strategy? He says strategy is that course of action with which the business wants to get into, or the actions which the business wants to opt, through which they can position themselves better in the market in comparison to their competitors, right? This gives us the notion of competitive position, right? The strategy helps in deciding our competitive position. It needs to be emphasized that strategy is not synonymous with a long-term plan, but rather consists of an enterprise attempts to reach some preferred future state by adapting its competitive position as circumstances change. So it is not like a long-term plan that once you have prepared it. No, sometimes the strategies are prepared for just one year, 6 months, they are prepared. It is like, this is the point where you want to reach. This is the thing that you want to achieve. It is not a long-term plan. It is the short-term plans combined. We can look at as a long-term vision, right? But strategies, because the business environment is dynamic, the strategies need to be broken down into smaller parts so that whenever there are changes, you can change it. Because if you make a very long-term plan and in the long term the situations change, then it will be difficult for you to change, right? While a series of strategic moves may be planned, competitors' action will mean that the actual moves will have to be modified to take the account of those actions, obviously. Right? Once you have prepared a strategy, you will need to keep on changing the strategy as per the competitors' actions also, or as per the environment actions also, right? So in contrast to this, so there is one more thing that is looked at when we talk about this strategy implementation. He says strategic formulation is one part. Sometimes the companies look at that whether whatever the strategy that you have formulated, whether you have the resources, whether your internal processes, whether your input-output processes, they are efficient enough to implement those strategies in the right way, right? What I'm saying is that sometimes the companies look at this like this. Okay, we have prepared a very good strategy, we have formulated a very good strategy, but do our internal processes means our input output operations, right, are that efficient, what I'm using the word, that efficient that we will be able to achieve our the desired results of the strategy or not? Clear? Now again, in this particular part, we cannot focus only on the efficiency. Okay, I'll come to that later on. First, try to understand. There is another approach to management practice which has been followed in many organizations. In the organizations that lack the strategic direction, right, they do not know that which strategic path they need to follow. In that case, first they check that whether internally we are strong or not. There has been a tendency to look inwards in the times of stress, and for the management to devote their attention to the cost cutting and to shedding the unprofitable divisions. So they start looking inwards. In case of stress, they do not know, they are totally confused that what strategies will work or not, right? Whether turnaround will work or whether the divestment will work, which of the strategies is going to work. So what they start doing is they start working on their internal procedures. They will do the cost cutting. They will, the labor turnover will be high. They will ask some of the workers to please leave the factory because we cannot pay you so much of the salaries. Unprofitable divisions, they will close down. So a lot of things will start happening, right? In other words, the focus has been on the efficiency, that is the relationship between input and output, usually with a short time horizon. So here what the managers try to see is that increase the efficiency, because we are not able to understand what should be done. So let's try to increase our efficiency in whatever way we can, rather than the effectiveness, which is concerned with the attainment of organizational goals, including that of desired competitive position. Now we are not looking at how effective we are. We are now looking at how efficiently we will be able to do the business. Effectiveness is what? Effectiveness is that whether the broader goals, whatever the goals we have set, whether it is related to the competitive position, we are able to achieve or not. Effectiveness is whatever the work we are doing internally, whether that is being done in the right way or not. Right? So there is a difference between being efficient and being effective. Clear? While efficiency is essentially introspecting that whatever the procedures inside the factory going on, whether those are being done in the right way or not. Effectiveness highlights the links between the organization and its environment. Right? That according to the external environment, whether we have prepared the effective strategies or not. The responsibility for efficiency lies with the operational managers, with the top management having the primary responsibility for the strategic orientation of the organization. That's already the basic thing, that the efficiency is related to the operations of the business, and that is why it is the responsibility of the operational managers, whereas the top management is looking at the overall strategies of the organization. So this is what is there: strategic formulation, effective or ineffective, and the operational management. Right? This is what efficiency, efficient or inefficient. If your strategy formulation is very good, effective, right? So let's talk about the first part. The first part, your strategy formulation is effective. Your operational management is also brilliant, effective, then you will thrive. Thrive means you will have good profits, you will enjoy a good market share, you will enjoy a good market position and everything. If your strategy formulation is ineffective, but your operations are doing quite good, right? Your operational management is very good, but your strategy formulation is not good, then for some time you will be able to manage the business, but slowly and steadily the business will die, right? The third one, if your strategy formulation is effective, your operational management is ineffective, you will be able to survive for some time. Why? Because your strategies are good, right? But your operational management is not good, right? Strategy is to earn 15% gross profit, or strategy is to sell 10,000 units, but your input output ratios are not able to give you 10,000 units, right? But somehow you are able to generate 8,000 units. So with good strategy, you will be able to sell and generate good profits from those 8,000 units, right? So you will be able to survive, but not thrive. Okay. Then if your formulation is ineffective, if your operations management is inefficient, then you will die quickly. Definitely, because you do not have nothing, you have nothing good in it, right? Okay, an organization find itself in the cell 1, cell 2, just read it once. This paragraph, I want you people to read it. I have explained you, just read it, right? So in crude terms, to be effective is to do the right thing. Effective means doing the right thing. What is right? While the efficient is to do the thing right. Efficient means whatever you are doing, do it right. Right? For example, what is effectiveness? Effectiveness is doing the right thing, serving the society. That is effectiveness. What is efficient? Efficient is whatever you are doing, do it right. Even if you are murdering someone, murder it right. Right? So that is efficiency. That is the difference between effectiveness and efficiency. Simple terms. An emphasis on the efficiency rather than effectiveness is clearly wrong. He says we cannot only focus on efficiency. We need to see that how effectively we have formulated the strategy. Efficiency is somehow related to the implementation part, right? He says we cannot focus only and only on the efficiency. We need to see that how effectively we have prepared the strategy, or how effectively and efficiently we are able to execute that strategy. right? You have a brilliant strategy formulation, you have prepared a very good strategy, but if you are not able to implement it right, then fail. There is no point of making the good strategy. Even the most technically perfect strategic plan will serve little purpose if it is not implemented effectively and efficiently, right? So when we talk about formulation, somehow we are talking about two things. One is the formulation, another thing is the implementation, right? Another thing is implementation. So formulation is related to what? Effectiveness or efficiency? It is related to effectiveness, because the formulation is what are the right things to be done. Implementation is how to do those things, right? So implementation is basically related to both effectiveness and efficiency, that whether you will be able to implement that effective strategy with efficiency or not. Major implementation is related to the efficiency, because efficiency is related to what? The action, right? Whatever you are doing, whether you are doing it right or not. Okay, clear? So many organizations tend to spend an inordinate amount of time, effort on developing the strategic plan, treating the means and circumstances under which it will be through implementation. Just read it once, not really relevant, right? A technically imperfect plan that is implemented well will achieve more than the perfect plan that never goes off the paper on which it is implemented. So the implementation is really important, right? He says you make an imperfect plan, you are not good at planning, but you implemented it brilliantly. You made a Goa plan, but you did not go for the hotel bookings, you did not inquire, but once you reach there, you are able to immediately book the hotels and everything. Your planning is not that good, but your implementation is brilliant. Even then you will be able to survive. You will be doing good, right? You will be doing better than what? You will be doing better than having a perfect plan but poor implementation, right? Successful strategy formulation does not guarantee the successful strategy implementation. It is always more difficult to do something, right? To do something rather than to say you are going to do it. Right? So actual implementation is always difficult than just the planning. And if you have planned very well, it doesn't mean that you have implemented that very well, right? Your implementation might not be that good. So the difference between formulation and implementation, just go through it once, you will be able to understand it. Formulation is planning and decision making, right? Implementation is those means related to executing the strategic plans. In short, formulation is placing the forces before the action, and this is managing the forces during the action. Forces means many other things, the market, technology, everything. It is an entrepreneurial activity based on strategic decision making. It is an administrative task, because when you are implementing, who will implement it? The lower level management, the functional managers, the business managers are going to implement it, right? So it is an administrative task based on strategic and operational decisions, because implementation is related to the business operations. Emphasis on effectiveness, and here it is on efficiency, that how efficiently you will be able to implement the effective formulated strategy. On intellectual and rational process, on operational processes, requires the coordination among few individuals at the top level, and here many individuals at the middle and lower level, because implementation is always going to take place at the lower levels, right? Requires a great deal of initiative, logical skills, conceptual intuitive powers and analytical skills. Here requires the motivational and the leadership trait to get the things done in the right way. That is the most important thing, right? Strategic formulation precedes implementation. Implementation follows strategic formulation. That is simple, right? So this is important. This is important, right? Difference between formulation and implementation. Strategic formulation concepts and tools, they do not differ greatly for small, large, and for profit or non-profit organizations. So formulation tools remain more or less same for all the organizations. The implementation may vary depending upon the resources being available. It may vary among the different types and sizes of organization. Implementation of strategies require such actions as altering the sales territories, adding the new. Now, implementation will require a lot of things, which we have already studied about it, right? Creating the work culture, creating the right work culture, then motivating the people, creating budgets and everything, right? Closing a few facilities, making changes in the business operations, hiring the new employees, changing an organization's pricing strategy, developing the financial budgets, new employee benefits, establishing cost control procedures, changing the advertising strategies, building new facilities, training new employees, transferring the managers, and all these things will be required for the implementation. There basically, broadly, if you talk about the implementation, will require the changes in the operational structure, the changes in a lot of things, motivating the people, the changes in the manpower will be required, the right people at the right position will be required, the right skills will be required. You might require to close down the few businesses or the few processes and bring into place the new processes, right? The people of the organization need to be motivated, need to be trained for according to the strategy that we have decided to implement. Clear? So this is a very important topic, formulation and implementation. So we are done with the implementation part. In the next video, we will take up the linkages and issues in strategic implementation, forward linkages, backward linkages. Are there any issues related to it? Right, so we'll see how much we are able to cover. We'll try to cover as much as possible in the next video related to linkages and issues. Please revise whatever we have done so far, right? See you guys in the next lecture. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy, keep studying, keep sharing. Thank you so much.